Welcome to my final video for 2019, everyone, and yeah, I'm drinking some tea, and you might notice my voice is not exactly how it usually is, and that's because, well, I think this video, first off, deserves a little context.
Excellent!
So today I'm going to be answering a bunch of questions that were asked of me on Twitter, and to be clear, this is not a Probing Paul, my monthly Q&A video. This is completely different and separate because the questions are from Twitter and not from the comment section of my last Probing Paul video. Just to frame things up though, the end of the year is always a bit of a whirlwind for me, and I'm sure it is for a lot of you guys as well because you got the holidays and everything. It usually starts with Thanksgiving for me, then it rolled directly into our fan meetup. Then right after that we had our 12-hour charity live stream that I did with Kyle and Joe and a bunch of other people who helped us out with that, and we raised something close to $30,000 for charity, which was super nice. While all that was going on, I was also trying to coordinate some home upgrades. We had our roof replaced. I have some concrete laid on the side. I've got a patio cover now. More stuff planned for 2020 in January. Fortunately, we got through all that stuff without too much difficulty, but then right after that came Christmas. And Christmas is a time when family gathers together, and there's also lots of kids. And as much as I like spending time with the younger members of my extended family, in the back of my mind is the thought that, they're probably gonna get me sick because kids tend to spread disease and that kind of thing. And now here I am the week after Christmas, and I got a little bit of a cold going. It's nothing too terrible, but the final step of this entire holiday gamut is still coming up, which is CES, which is next week. So I have a week to get myself better. Hopefully my white blood cell count will now be much higher, which will help me fend off the CES plague, which is a whole nother monster in and of itself. So to that end, I've got my oolong tea here from Taiwan to hopefully soothe my throat a little bit, make me feel a little bit better. And if I did have to point the blame to one specific day, time, location, it would be our snow play day, where we all went up to the snow, and the dogs were there, and the kids were there, and we did some sledding, and it was great fun. But I was not wearing proper shoes. I was just wearing tennis shoes. I wasn't prepared for the snow, I'll be honest. It doesn't really matter though, because we got through the day. I'm still doing just fine, and I have a bunch of questions from you guys to answer on Twitter. So I'm gonna do that, talk a little bit about what's coming up in 2020, maybe a little bit of reminiscing about 2019. One more sip of tea there, and I think we're good to go. So here's my tweet to all of you guys who follow me on Twitter at Paul Hardware, just asking about questions about 2020, 2019, whatever people want to ask. And I have not even vetted these. I'm just going to start scrolling down and answering the ones that I think I have good answers to. First off, Keith Loves Danny Dimes Mar asks, what excites you for next year? This can be anything. I would say I'm loosely excited for some of the tech launches coming up this year. I'm actually more excited for the progress I think I'm going to be able to make here at home with the work area outside and everything. We have a bunch of plans for our backyard and for the interior, and I'm really more excited personally about moving forward with that stuff than I think I am about any specific tech product coming out. That said, I'm sure we have lots of surprises still to come, so I will cover them as needed. Brother Rab asks, what is your career high point this year? For that, well, my high point this year is, of course, the birth of my daughter back in May. Her name's Hannah, and she's wonderful and joyful, and she's also a little bit sick right now. Career high point for this year, I think actually would probably be our 12-hour charity live stream. That's an event that Kyle and I started doing like 4 years ago, and it was just sort of like, hey, let's get together, let's play some video games, let's see if we can raise some money. The support from you guys, though, and the community year after year has just been huge for that. We have pushed our intended fundraising limit much higher than we ever expected it would be in the future. And thanks to all of you guys who came in and donated, as well as some really generous donations from like PC Part Picker and Linus, we managed to get really close to $30,000 this year. So I was really proud of that, and for me that's a high point because it's not about doing stuff for us and our channels, it's about helping out kids with cancer, which is, in my opinion, a pretty good cause. Name Cannot Be Blank asks, why don't you have an alien graphic for Probing Paul? Good question. I don't work on the graphics for my channel all that much. I have my thumbscrew logo. I've slowly developed more graphics. Maybe I can farm that one out to Joe. Joe, I'm gonna make an alien probing me logo for Probing Paul. I don't know. Archimedes Amazonas asks, since you don't want to expand business too much, do you plan on extending your garage studio a little bit to gain storage space? And I think he probably saw one of my previous Probing Pauls where I talked about my plans and expansions, which I want to keep things relatively small here. So you might have seen my patio extension out here. I'm hoping that gives me a lot more space to work with and do more projects because that's really what I want to get into. I love building computers and everything, and I have no plans to stop doing that, but I want to do a few more like creator type projects, maybe get a 3D printer going, do a little bit more woodworking, and I think having the space to do that outside is going to greatly expand my abilities to do that. that. Greg Salazar is next. Hey, what's up, Greg? The artist formerly known as Science Studio. If you had to change one thing about how you pursued your YouTube career in 2019, what would it be and why? Greg, this gave me pause because I had to think about what I've done this year and the decisions I've made. And of course, you're always going to make decisions that you go back and say, well, I probably could have made a different decision there, maybe done something better. But the hugest impact on me this year, and I'm sure you're right with me there because you also have a new son, is I had a daughter. And I knew from the get-go that balancing my time between family, raising my daughter, and my work here for the YouTube channel was going to be challenging, but it's actually something that I felt like I've actually done a pretty decent job on. I'm not perfect, of course, in any way, so that made me think, I don't think I would have changed very much. I try to work in a way that's all about balance and sustainability. Balance with my work and with home life, and then sustainability as in, if I'm doing something now, I want to be able to not burn out. I want to still have the same level of enthusiasm that I had now in a month or in 6 months or in a year or in 2 years. And with all of that in mind, I actually feel like I've done a pretty decent job maintaining that balance this year, even though I now have a daughter, which is a huge impact on my life, and even though we're trying to do a bunch of home upgrades and stuff, which also tends to make things a little bit more confusing. But thank you very much for the question, Greg, and a huge congrats to you and Lisa once again on your baby boy. Dan asks, do you think Intel is going to struggle next year? Is that why they seem to be pushing a GPU too? I think Intel is pushing a GPU because they see the market for GPUs in the future, not just for gaming, but for a wide range of other GPU compute applications, AI, self-driving cars. There's a huge market for GPUs in the future, and I think Intel needs a piece of that. And I've said this before, but I think the team that Intel has gathered for their GPUs is pretty impressive. I'm not going to make any judgments on products until products are actually available for us to test and review, but if you look at the CPU side of things, it's actually a difficult question to answer. I think they could do well by slashing the prices of some of their 14 nanometer products, or by actually launching some 10 nanometer products that have some performance gains. So basically, I think it's going to be a combination of those two things. Are they willing to cut prices for their existing stuff to make it competitive? And are they going to be able to push out some new stuff that exhibits some performance benefits? I will be waiting to see along with you. I'm going to answer these two questions at the same time. Alan asks, any outdoor live stream plans for 2020 now that you have the covered patio area? And Keith Skeet asks, do you have any more long-term goals for upgrades or additions to your house? Once you may not be working on directly. So for the house, and I've already mentioned this, we have a big interior remodel project coming up. So that's going to be in January, and I'm going to be covering that as much as I can because I'll either need to make videos on that, or I probably won't be able to make videos with all the chaos going on. Beyond those, we do have some ideas and plans for the backyard. My backyard has just been kind of a patch of dirt where stuff occasionally grows for quite some time now. We'd like to potentially add a greenhouse. We've talked about a small pool, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But we'd like to do some better landscaping over on the area where nothing but weeds and stuff grows, because it's just weeds and stuff that grows there, unless it's too dry and hot and then it's just dirt. But I absolutely love doing home improvement projects here in my home. It's one of the reasons why we bought a home that was ours, is so that we could invest time and effort and love into it to make it hopefully a continually better and improved and more efficient home in different areas. As for live streaming, that's a possibility. I'm not sure how far I would go down that road, but it's definitely something that would be an option. But I will continue to make videos on the progress I make in the area out there, because there's still a lot of work to be done. And again, it's one of the things I'm really excited about for 2020. Don Cell asks, chicken or fish? I would say chicken is usually my go-to, but fish is something that I would like to eat more of because it's better for you. I don't usually like fish, but I do like sushi. I think there's other types of fish I could learn to love. Next up is Brad Hutchinson. What up, Hutch? Hey, you're verified. That's pretty sweet. What were your recent discoveries with YouTube and its algorithm? What are your goals and aspirations for the channels in the new year? Can we expect more doggos and workshop vlogs? I've already kind of answered your second and third questions here, but yes, more doggos. They will be around. They're not going anywhere, and I like to point the camera at them from time to time. Workshop vlogs, yes, those will continue as I continue to do work here at home. As for the YouTube algorithm, I'm still not 100% sure what was going on around September, October, where there was such a huge dip in views for a lot of different channels. It seems like that's kind of corrected and come back up a little bit. I've been making more colorful thumbnails. Apologies to any of you guys who don't like those, but I'm trying not to make them too over the top. So I guess for now, things are going okay, but it's always gonna be something that's in the back of my mind. Is there gonna be a month where suddenly views tank and you gotta figure out what the heck is going on? I don't know. Eric Smith asks the obligatory, when will you be joining Floatplane? Yes, Eric, soon, very soon. Next is Casey Herring. Should people upgrade when they get their tax refunds or wait to see what comes out later in the year? If you need a computer, then buy a new computer. If you want to wait, you can wait. You can always wait. New things will come out, they'll be faster. Things that exist might get a little bit cheaper. That is pretty much the constant ebb and flow of PC parts. The only thing I would point out here is if you keep an eye on memory pricing, SSD and memory pricing, those can often be more of a commodity thing with prices that go up and then back down. If you see the prices starting to trend upwards, or often there'll be articles that talk about expected, what the market expects in the next quarter, there you might buy if you do see prices to go back north. Fortunately right now they seem to be staying pretty good. I like SSD and memory pricing right now. Kaylee here has a common last name. I recently read a Reddit article about how to properly pronounce it, and apparently even the people who have this last name can't 100% decide on it. I like Win though, it's the simplest. Kaylee Win, any plans for collabs with other creators? I will say no. At least nothing immediate for right now beyond my continued work with Kyle, which is pretty regular. I am planning to go to LTX this year again, hopefully, if that happens, assuming it happens. They're supposed to actually, I think, announce the date for that really soon. I have a lunch date or a coffee date with Jay's 2 cents that has been pushed back multiple times, and I know he's going on vacation like next week too, so I want to reconnect with him hopefully. A lot of this has been stuff that's just gotten pushed back due to all the holiday stuff going on, but thank you for your suggestion, and it's absolutely something I want to continue to do. And if any of you guys have ideas as far as creators who you'd like to see me collaborate with, go ahead and tweet them over to me, because I'm always interested in that. And I am located in the Southern California area, so there's lots of people around this area who I might work with. I will say the one thing that I've wanted to do, although I haven't mentioned it to them, is kind of like BPS Customs went and visited Gamers Nexus recently, Steve, and saw their labs and did some collaborative videos there. I wouldn't mind doing that too. I like Steve and his crew and the work that they do, and I'd like to get a closer look at how things run behind the scenes. So maybe that'll happen too. I'll talk to him about that at CES. The Ruben asks, how do you manage your time? Recommend any tools? Lists, Ruben. I have a little booklet. I just write out lists, check things off as I accomplish them. If I don't get to everything, I cross it out and I move it to the list for the next day. That's how I've stayed on top of things. It's been very effective. List keeping. It's a basic tool, but it's incredibly effective. Will asks, how have the dogs handled the new addition to the family? They've been doing great. They have not exhibited any signs of aggression or jealousy towards Hana, and they seem very protective of her, which we like. Captain Gaijin asks, he needs to install some kind of motion sensor alarm to keep Kyle from stealing his CPUs in 2020. That's very correct, very correct. I was recently looking around for my 3950X, can't seem to find it. Don't know who to blame. Egon Print asks, when you started doing this, did you ever think you could do this for a living? Well, when I first started doing this, I was working for Newegg, which is a large company. So I was working at Newegg and they were paying me a salary, and I helped produce content for their YouTube channel. The performance of the Newegg YouTube channel really didn't have any impacts on me. I mean, I was proud, of course, of the work I did there and the subscribers that we gained. It wasn't really until I made it my own channel and sort of made it more personal, and it became more like the efforts that I put forth are reflected in the performance of the YouTube channel, when I started thinking, hey, maybe this is something that I could do full time. And then when my personal channel got to about 80,000 subscribers, and Kyle, who I was also working with at Newegg at the time, started to talk to me about his plans to go off on his own, I thought, well, maybe I could do that too, but I absolutely could not have done this without the support of my wife, Diana, because she also works a full-time job and she was able to add me to her health insurance. I can also answer both of these questions from Boomer, any exciting teasers or hints for projects in the upcoming year, and Ryan Leatherman, any more Paul's DIY fun videos planned. And I guess the most immediate plans here are going to be the remodel in the main area, which is going to involve tearing out our entire kitchen, tearing up a bunch of floors, tile, carpets, tearing off all of the trim. And yes, I and hopefully some volunteer family members and friends are going to be handling the demolition ourselves. And then for a lot of the cabinet work and stuff like that, I am having a contractor come in to do a lot of that. So that should be a lot of fun. I want to DIY as much of it as I can, but I want to have it professionally done where I think is necessary. And then once that is complete, I think I will finally feel like, all right, our house is upgraded to the point where we want it to be. I want to start working on the outside because we have a decent sized backyard and we want to make more use of it. We like hanging out outside, so I think there's a lot of stuff that can be done there. So more to come in 2020. Guys, there are a ton of really good questions, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to get to all of them, but thank you to all of you who have been asking them. I'm gonna answer one last one here from Wessel van der Herk, which is, are you planning on making any changes to Riptide soon? Funny story about Riptide. I had one of the pumps fail several months ago. I reconnected up the quick disconnects so that everything is running off of a single D5 pump that's in there. And my thought at the time was, oh no, I really need to get some work done on Riptide so I can replace the second pump. This is concerning since it is my production system. Of course, then everything that's happened in the past couple months happened and I have not gotten to that. But to answer your question, yes, I want to pull Riptide into here. I need to flush the loop. I need to replace that pump. And then I also need to consider whether or not I'm going to upgrade to Threadripper 3, which would be really cool because Threadripper 3 processors are really nice. It would require a new motherboard though, and it would require me to have Threadripper 3 processors, which AMD didn't originally sample. If you watched the Threadripper 3 review video that I did, I didn't have the processors. Kyle had them, and he still has them. He's also got my 3950X. That doesn't seem right. But just to sum up, yes, I have a Threadripper video coming soon with at least some of that work done on it, and I will be considering whether or not to do an actual upgrade to the core hardware. That will probably depend on whether or not AMD finally sends me a 3970X. But guys, I think that's gonna have to wrap it up for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all of your support, watches, views, likes, retweets, shares, all of that stuff throughout 2019. I hope to continue to bring you enjoyable content, entertaining, informative, hopefully some tutorials on how to build computers and stuff too in 2020. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button as always. We'll see you guys next year.